welcome to the Millennial Live. And my name's Albert. I'm here today in our University Club office overlooking downtown. And today, I'm very grateful that you're with me. This is the Millennial Live. And yes, even though there's been 2 shows, you've been with me through 2 name changes. And thanks for sticking with me. I couldn't necessarily be set on the Oh Albert show, even though it sounded fun and personal. I wanted it to be more about us, not just me. And then there was the Reformist, but I couldn't fully figure it out. I wasn't set. But the Millennial sounds pretty cool. And let me show you my logo real quick. Hold on. That's right. We designed this. Looks legit, right? Anyway, today I have the pleasure with me to have a friend and mentor with us. He's not on the camera yet. He's someone that I truly admire and appreciate. I met him just like a month ago, a month and a half, I think. I'm not sure. And as I've gotten to know him, I've realized he has an amazing story. He's taught me nothing but great things. He's a godly man. He's a family person. He works out in the morning. He's motivated. He's accomplished a lot. But more importantly, he loves to help others, and that's why he's here today. So with that, Eric, why don't you slide in with the camera, with the chair. Does he look good? Can you see this? Cool. Thank you. So, Eric, why don't you tell us about yourself a little bit? Maybe a couple past accomplishments. Obviously, you're a little bit older than a millennial, but that's why we're here, because we want to.
I'm a lot older. A little bit about me professionally. I started my career as a youth pastor, actually, a children's minister at a church, and went to seminary. And then after several years in the ministry, I decided that I wanted to be in the marketplace, so being a witness in the business world. And next thing I know, I went from a children's pastor to doing real estate financing in the $10 to $100 million deals. I was actually working on a $20 million hotel deal the day after I left the ministry. Over the last 30 years, I've done a lot of things. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I have probably financed about $500 million worth of commercial real estate. I have been in the healthcare business. I got the entrepreneurial bug and started a product out of my backyard called Zip Fizz, got it into Costco. Wow. And in 3 years, built that to about a $30 million a year business in Costco, and it's still sold about $120 million since. You can go to any Costco and find it.
Yeah, my friend just the other day, he told me that he just got some Zip Fizz and like he likes it from Costco, and I was like, hey, and like I never knew about it, but you know when you hear a word or when you learn a word and you hear it in a sentence the next day, like that same thing, I was like, wait, you got Zip Fizz? I was like, oh, that's so cool. I know someone who helped out with that.
That was crazy. I did it as a hobby. I thought it was just going to be a side business, and it just took off, and sold the company and started doing some other things. I managed Paula Abdul during the height of American Idol, and spent some time with her. And I just last year was CEO of a software firm, and now all I do is work with startup founders, business owners, and CEOs. Wow. And so that's a little bit about me, but I know this show isn't about me.
Well, and thanks for that. Eric, he's a very humble guy. When I first grabbed breakfast with him, I had to pry this information out of him. And for the purposes of the show, I asked him to share that because it shows a certain sense of, like, you know, the other day, a friend asked me, you know, hey, I'm having trouble just paying my $50 a month bill or my $150 credit card. So just to hear different numbers, and you're just like, whoa, you know, it puts it in perspective. Like, is my money so small, or am I just average, or is that above average? And I love being able to share that with you, because in the midst of coming down to reality, as most people say, you know, the average millennial, I mean, we're barely starting off our lives. We're barely starting to make money and learn how to manage it and things like that. And in general, we're barely learning. Most of us are partying. We're going to bars or things like that. A lot of people just like to spend time with their friends. If you were young again, or more actually from your perspective, what are 3 things that you wish millennials could know so that they can better prepare for the future? Because we're always just focused in now, and a lot of us aren't focusing on the future. But From your wisdom and from your years, could you tell us some things that you've learned that you wish we could know today?
Sure. It's actually, you said one of them, which is think about the future. I think when I was reading the Sermon on the Mount the other day, which one thing I'd say to every millennial is focus on the Sermon on the Mount, read it a lot, because there's so much wisdom in it.
What's the Sermon on the Mount?
The Sermon on the Mount is Matthew chapter 5, 6, and 7.
Okay.
And listen to what Jesus said on the Mount. But one of the things he reminds everybody is that to build your house on a rock, not on sand, because rock will be solid and will stay during the storm. Mm-hmm. And I think what you just said was really important. If you're only focused on now and fast and getting this now, mm-hmm. you're not going to build a strong foundation. You're not going to go for quality and greatness and long term. And that has a huge ramification to how you live your life in your 20s and 30s. It's really, really tempting to see the story of Facebook and all the big tech billionaires and go, why am I not doing that? I got to go make $1 billion. But reality is, I work with about 60 or 70 small business owners. All of them are entrepreneurs. All of them had to start something. And here's the reality. It takes not 1 year or 2 years or 3 years. For 99% of the successes you see out there, whether it's your personal life, whether it's your marriage, whether it's a business, whether it's a career that you're working as an employee, it takes time and it takes sustained effort. You have to build your house on a rock. You have to go deep instead of wide.
Yeah, I was reading something recently and it talked about how Warren Buffett, he gained 99.99% of his net worth after he was 50.
That's right.
And that's crazy because he's worth, I think, $70 billion. So that means that if you're worth $70 billion, that means that you could lose $60 billion and still have $10 billion after that. So that's a lot of dough.
A lot of dough.
You can buy a lot of things from the dollar menu with that at McDonald's. But
and what that means is during your 20s and 30s, work on a skill. Become a master craftsman. Look at your career, look at making money as how do I master my craft? Not how do I make money, but what skills can I hone in such a way that people will pay me premium dollars? We live in a global economy, and the only way we as 20 and 30-year-olds now are going to have the kind of money and have the success and be able to provide for their families and give back to communities in the future is if what we do is highly skilled. So that means if you're in school, don't be a generalist. I was talking to my 26-year-old son yesterday, and he said, "Dad, the best advice you ever gave me was," and he told us a story where he had been a mess up in high school. He went to community college because he didn't have the grades, even though he was an athlete. He finally goes to Sonoma State College, and I said, "What's your major?" And he says, "I'm going to be a business administration." I said, "You want to be a barista after you graduate?" And he laughed and he goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "Nobody who's going to hire a 22-year-old just because they have they just have a generalist in business." I said, "Learn the language of business, which is accounting. If you want to get into business, become a specialist. Learn the language of business, which is accounting. If you really want to know if you're in school, get out of school with a degree that will pay you because you became a specialist, a tradesman, a craftsman during that time. So if you're going to be in healthcare, go. If you want a job, you want to make $100,000 a year, and you want a job, get in technology, get into accounting, get into nursing. Those are skill sets that you come out of school. Another thing I'd say, if you're not in school yet but you want to shift over, here's a great one. If you want to get into technology, look at Udacity. Udacity, Udacity.com.
Udacity.com.
Udacity.com is if you want to get into technology, just take a look at it.
Wow.
What happened in Udacity is some venture capitalists in Silicon Valley, they all got together and they said, how can we provide the skill sets that the technology companies need? And they went to all the technology companies in the valley, in the Silicon Valley, and they said, what do you need? They gathered all that together and they put together an online curriculum for anybody to learn the skill sets. And here's their thing: if you don't get a job after school with them, they refund your money.
Wow.
So that's about, but it goes back to build skill sets that people want. Mm-hmm. Second thing I'd say, and it's the same thing, is build your reputation. It's going deep. build a reputation that in 5 years and 10 years and 20 years, everybody you've touched all during that time, they look at you and you have a reputation for integrity, for quality, for simple things like being on time, doing what you say.
Character. I'm still working on being on time. But you know, one of the reasons why I started this show is because I had a passion to teach money, health, and happiness, but I'm not a coach or anything like that. I'm not a millionaire. I'm still in debt, and I'm learning how to get out of that. And I still get stressed out during the day. But if there's one thing that I did over the past like 5.5 years, was I really focused on building my network. And we're here today, and we're able to have someone like Eric who's talking to us and pouring out his wisdom. So yeah, thank you for that. Do you have one more point before we close out in a couple minutes?
I think you just said it. Your relationships matter. Build those relationships and build on them, and make sure that you're always building bridges, you're not burning bridges with your relationships.
Building bridges. So thank you.
Not burning them.
Yeah, not burning them.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Eric, for joining us. I'm truly grateful for you to just share your wisdom with us. And you heard it. That's Eric. We're live with the Millennials. So if there's one thing that I got, is definitely to focus on my character. You know, I got to make sure that I stay on my word. So I'm going to make sure to be on time next week. I'm going to challenge myself to be on time to all my appointments. And I challenge you to do the same thing. So with that, this is Albert signing off with a Millennial. Thank you for joining us live.